The most dangerous person at any table isn't the one talking the loudest. It's the one who hasn't said a word yet. And by the end of this video, you'll never look at a quiet person the same way again. There's something unsettling about truly intelligent people. Not the kind of unsettling that makes you want to leave the room. The kind that makes you realize, long after the conversation is over, that they understood everything happening around them while everyone else was just performing. We live in a world that rewards noise. The loudest pitch wins the meeting. The most confident voice in the room gets the promotion. We're trained from childhood to equate speaking up with being smart. But what if that's completely backwards? What if silence isn't the absence of thought? What if it's where thought actually lives? Let me tell you about a guy named Marcus. Marcus was a software engineer at a mid-sized tech company. Every week, his team had these big brainstorming sessions. People throwing out ideas, interrupting each other, writing buzzwords on whiteboards. His manager loved the energy. 3 or 4 colleagues always dominated the conversation. Loud, fast, confident. Marcus barely said anything. For months, people assumed he was shy, maybe a little slow. His manager even pulled him aside once and said, "You need to speak up more. People will think you have nothing to contribute." Marcus nodded, said he'd work on it. Then one quarter, the company's flagship product started losing users at an alarming rate. Emergency meetings were called. Everyone had theories. Everyone talked over each other. The usual voices dominated. Marcus waited. Let everyone finish. Then he said, quietly, 7 words. "I think I know what's happening here." He'd been watching the data for 2 months, silently, noticing a pattern no one else had bothered to look for, because they were all too busy talking about what they thought the pattern was. He was right. He fixed it. And it saved the company millions. Here's the uncomfortable truth that story reveals. And this is where it gets really interesting. Marcus wasn't quiet because he had nothing to say. He was quiet because he was actually listening. Psychologists call this active cognitive processing. While most people are talking, they're also simultaneously planning their next sentence. They're not really listening. They're waiting for their turn to speak. Genuinely intelligent people do something different. They suspend their own narrative. They observe. They gather information before forming conclusions. Think about the last time you were in a group conversation. Be honest. How much of the time were you actually absorbing what others were saying versus mentally drafting your response? Most of us draft. All the time. Constantly. The quiet person in the room? They're not drafting. They're reading the room. And there is a massive difference between those two things. Here's a question that might bother you. What if you've been mistaking confidence for intelligence your entire life? There's fascinating research from Adam Grant, an organizational psychologist at Wharton, showing that the people most likely to overestimate their own intelligence are also the most likely to dominate conversations. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. A little knowledge produces maximum confidence. Deep knowledge? That tends to produce something closer to humility, because when you truly understand a subject, you understand how vast it is. You understand how much you don't know. And that awareness makes you careful about what you say. Voltaire put it this way, and this is a thought that should genuinely unsettle you. The more I read, the more I acquire, the more certain I am that I know nothing. That's not false modesty. That's what intellectual honesty actually feels like. But here's where it gets scary, because this pattern doesn't just live in boardrooms and brainstorming sessions. It lives in your relationships, your friendships, your family dinners. And the implications of that are something we'll get to. Sarah had a friend group she'd been part of since college. There was one person in that group. Let's call her Diane, who always had a story to top yours. Always had an opinion. Always had a theory. Loud. Magnetic. Magnetic in the way that fireworks are magnetic. Bright. Spectacular. And over almost before you realized it started. And then there was Priya. Priya sat at the edge of the group. She laughed at the right moments. Asked questions. Genuinely curious questions. Not performative ones. When someone was struggling, Priya was the one who noticed first, without being told. She didn't give advice unless asked. For years, Sarah had quietly assumed Diane was the smartest one in the group. She was the most present, after all, the most visible. Then one day, Sarah went through something difficult, a quiet unraveling that she hadn't told anyone about. She didn't know how to bring it up. Priya texted her first. Not a generic, "You okay?" Priya texted, "I noticed something seemed off the last couple times we hung out. You don't have to tell me anything, but I'm here if you want to talk." Sarah sat with that for a long time. Diane, for all her brilliance and noise, Diane hadn't noticed at all. That moment reframed everything for Sarah because she realized Priya hadn't just been quiet. Priya had been paying attention the whole time to every room she walked into, to every person she sat across from. And that kind of attention, that's not shyness. That's a form of intelligence most people never develop. There's a concept in emotional intelligence research called empathic accuracy, the ability to precisely understand what another person is thinking or feeling in real time. Studies consistently show that people with higher empathic accuracy tend to speak less and observe more. They're not withdrawn, they're calibrating. Every time they speak, it lands with weight because they've already done the work. They've already read the room. They've already thought 3 steps ahead. And here's something that might genuinely change how you move through the world. This kind of intelligence is often invisible until it's desperately needed, like a structural beam inside a wall. You don't see it. You don't think about it until everything is falling down and it's the only thing still holding. Be honest. Have you ever dismissed someone as having nothing to say, only to later realize they had simply chosen not to say it to you? That distinction matters more than most people will admit. Silence isn't passive. In the hands of someone truly intelligent, silence is one of the most active things a person can do. Think about what silence actually requires. It requires restraint, the ability to hold back a reaction while processing it fully. It requires security. You have to be comfortable enough with yourself to not need the validation of being heard in every moment. And it requires curiosity. You have to actually want to understand the world more than you want to explain it. Those 3 things, restraint, security, curiosity, they are extraordinarily rare in combination. Most people have one. Some have two. Very few have all 3. And those few tend to be the ones who change the rooms they walk into, quietly, without anyone realizing it happened. There's also something subtle happening neurologically. When we speak, we're largely replaying stored patterns, things we already know, already believe. When we truly listen, we're building new neural pathways. We're updating our model of the world in real time. The quiet person in the room isn't just withholding words, they're learning, constantly, from you, from the way you phrase things, from what you emphasize, from what you accidentally reveal. And they'll remember it long after you've forgotten the conversation. Remember what I said at the very beginning, that the most dangerous person at the table is the one who hasn't spoken? We're almost there. Because what I'm about to tell you is the piece that makes everything else make sense. The final, most powerful insight isn't about intelligence at all. It's about power. Quiet people who are deeply intelligent understand something that loud, confident performers almost never grasp. That in most social and professional dynamics, the person who needs to speak the least holds the most influence. When you speak compulsively, you reveal yourself. Your fears, your biases, your insecurities, they all come out in the words you didn't plan to say, in the interruptions, in the need to be right, in the story you told that was just a little too long. The quiet observer absorbs all of that. They understand your pressure points, your patterns, your triggers, not to manipulate you, but because they can't help understanding people. It's how they're wired. And here is the thought that will linger, the one I want you to sit with long after this video ends. The next time you're in a room and someone hasn't said much, don't assume they have nothing to offer. Ask yourself, what have they already figured out about everyone here? Because while you were performing, they were studying. While you were talking, they were thinking. And while you were waiting to be impressive, They were quietly becoming indispensable. The smartest person in the room isn't the one with all the answers ready. They're the one who already knows which questions matter. If you enjoy content like this, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you don't miss future videos. Thanks for watching.